Well, I'm sure a lot of you guys are waiting for this since you've seen this video in the last couple hours because so many people have sent this to me. But we have a shocking development in the Charlie Kirk assassination investigation that is going to require an enormous video, okay? Because according to new evidence that everyone is now seeing on the internet, Charlie was shot from behind, and it's definitive. And so we're going to have to look through it, okay? And when I say it's definitive, I don't do that, dude. Like, I don't say it's definitive if it's not, because this is definitive when you look at this. The only way that you could say it's not is if someone doctored this video, and the two guys who were involved in creating it, Range Day Bro, congratulations on this video, my man. This is going to be a big breakout moment for you, and it feels good. He's got his name on it, and then the guy who actually created the video, which was shared with him, his name, all of his handles are in this too. So I have no reason to think that this is doctored, which means it's definitive. So once we establish that he was shot from behind, and we see later in the video the shooter very likely caught on video, which is also included here, now we have to start having a much bigger conversation. Two bigger conversations, in fact. Okay. The first one is related to Kash Patel's handling of this. And I'm trying not to hammer Kash Patel, but he's blundered this, but he's blundered it for all the right reasons. But the way he's blundered it now is exactly what I was talking about earlier today. If you guys have seen the video that I put out this morning, I was talking about how oversharing as the FBI director is the very first one who's telling us as these things are unfolding. And I said, I'm learning why they don't do that, where they seem like they're being really cagey, is because as soon as you put information out, now you're being held to that. And if it ends up not being correct, then what's going to happen? You look incompetent, right? And Kash Patel made a way bigger mistake than that with that post that we talked about. And when it comes to this, once this gets proven, assuming that it is what it looks like, every part of the government's theory is not true. It can't be. It can't be. Unless Tyler Rogers was behind him and you have some body double over on the building that they pretended that he shot him from, which means you've got decoys. You have a guy who's screaming in the crowd, I did it, I did it. You got another guy who's cheering. You've got Tyler Rogers over on the other roof, and then you have the real shooter over here. Okay. That now you're talking real conspiracy. And you guys have been watching my content. I have not even entertained a large scale government or bigger conspiracy. What's bigger than the government, Jesse on Fire? Well, we're going to get to that, because if this is what it looks like, I am now going to propose a way bigger conspiracy than people think that this is. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that the prevailing theory of who would have done this, if you're talking state government actors, is Israel, because Charlie Kirk refused to sell the company or refused to take in their money so that they could control his opinions and what he would share relating to Israel, right? That's like, no one's like directly saying it, really, no big, but that's what I'm seeing online. I never entertained that. I never entertained that theory. And I'm not saying that it's not true. It's just I haven't entertained it because I didn't see anything that was definitive on that. And what I'm going to tell you right now is, now that I am entertaining that you have multiple shooters, decoys, and so on and so forth, I still am not going to entertain that it's Israel, because I don't think it is. And I'm because this has a different set of fingerprints on it from my perspective. And it's much more important that all of us are aware of what this is, because we're the actual targets of this. Okay. Like the people who watch my content, me personally, heavy duty country, guys like us, okay? We are the targets of what this actually is, and I will explain that in detail after we look at the evidence. And so I'm being clear. When I say we're the targets, I'm talking about the targets of the psyop, because the actual target is the United States itself, okay? I know. I just made a huge mistake. But he did it for the right reasons. So I'm not saying we should be hammering him, but he fucked up bad here, real bad potentially. And not just because of this, but a culmination of things which could lead to people getting away with this. And I'm even talking about Tyler Rogers, if Tyler Rogers was the one who did this, because at the end of the day, it still could be Tyler Rogers that shot him, But what we know now is you have multiple decoys. It appears that we have multiple decoys. You have the person on the roof on the other side. You have the guy who's screaming about, I shot him, shoot me. And he turns out to have kitty diddler, stuff on his computer, which means he would have been very easy to blackmail into doing whatever you want. Now, that's the last that I'm going to talk about evidence of a conspiracy, because the remainder of this portion where we're talking about the conspiracy, we're just going to operate under the assumption that that is what's going on, because now there's nothing more that we can do than play a thought exercise. And that's what we're going to do. So it is a conspiracy in our hypothetical thought experiment here. Okay. You have one option over here, which is Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he was having Tucker Carlson at his events. And he was starting to share opinions that seemed to be conflicting with the public, narrative that Israel wanted out there. And they had already given him money. And so they had made threats and they did it, right? Not impossible, right? But here's the thing, right? Here's the other side of people who benefit from this. So when Donald Trump had not won yet, right, when he was still running for office, we knew that there was a large conspiracy among the most powerful people in the world, the string pullers, Soros, right? So that Soros and company, right? We all knew they were going to take a shot at Trump. No one was surprised at that because Trump represented an existential threat to their control over the levers of power in the United States, okay? And we've talked about this ad nauseum on my channel. If you're new to my channel, I would just very quickly go over this again, okay? The reason why you have seen a concerted effort on the global stage to weaken the United States among the global elites that are trying to build a more globalized way of managing the humans on this planet is because prior to 2016, the United States was the power base globally. The United States dictated what basically every country on earth did to a certain extent and could influence what these other countries did. And no one was going to go directly at the United States because of our military and our economic strength, which was not even comparable to anyone else. Okay. Now, the global elites that I'm talking about consider themselves more powerful than the government. And the reason for that is because they are the ones who have always put the people in office who are the government. They control those people and thus they control the government. And they have always, at least in the many recent decades, controlled the world by controlling the United States government. And in 2016, what happened is they found out the hard way that if they lost one election, the entirety of their power is put at risk if one person sneaks through and wins the president of the United States. Because Donald Trump came in, he was an anomaly that they did not control. He was like the first candidate on either side of the aisle who was in the general election, like where you got a Republican and a Democrat at the very end, since, hey, it's democracy, but we always just have two options, right? It's democracy, but you have two options. You're like, it doesn't really seem like democracy, right? I mean, it's like, I guess it's democratic to choose between those two, but how hard is it to make sure that you control both candidates if you're these people? Because that's what they've always done. That's why nothing ever changes, okay? Nothing ever changes with big pharma. Nothing ever changes with the defense, our policy, global, like all of the main big stuff that is causing, wealth gain for them and challenges for other people never changes, no matter how many times people talk about it, is because the people who benefit from it control both parties in every case. Trump came in and was like, no, I'm just going to try to do my best job. I'm going to do what I can. And he wasn't in the game. He didn't know or care how the game was played. And so all of a sudden, all of these things that they had put into place over decades were getting torn up because Trump's like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing it? And he won't listen to anybody, right? They try to blackmail him. It doesn't work. They try this. It won't work. They jammed him up in his first in his first term. They're like, okay, we just need to get through this 4 years. And then once we get Trump out, everything will go back to normal. And the problem for them is that the cat was out of the bag, and the tactics that they took in order to smear and slander and potentially jail or whatever with Trump exposed them. The way that they operated was they were in the shadows. They didn't exist, right? No one was really pointing any fingers at them because you have this show up front, which is the U.S. government. It's like, oh, there's, Barack Obama's doing blah, blah, blah. You never see the people who are making phone calls behind the scenes who can make global change with a single phone call, okay? You never saw them, right? And after Trump won in 2016, they realized that risk right there of losing one election and our whole thing falls apart is not an acceptable risk. And so what did they propose? Project 2030, okay, you will own nothing and be happy. Now, it's not just about them maintaining control. 2030 also has to do with the inevitability of AI automation and the inability to continue to have just like jobs for all humans, because we're not going to need human labor for anything almost, okay? Like literally for almost anything. You fast forward 50 years, you're not going to need people. So you're going to have to remake the economy. As much as we all love capital, like you're going to have to do something. I'm not saying communist. I have no idea what you do. I'm glad that I am not in charge of trying to figure that out. And I'm saying that would be the only kind of that would be the only purpose of what they're doing, that I would be like, look, man, somebody's going to have to make these changes. But if you're like, oh, well, who's in charge? Oh, Bill Gates and George Soros. I'm like, oh yeah, I love that. I love that. Those guys are definitely good actors that have the future of humanity in mind, and definitely are not, going to put their own financial and ambitions ahead of 98% of the humans on Earth. Like I'm not super on board if those guys are shaping the future, right? But at the end of the day, weakening the United States, breaking the United States, and then remaking the world in a globalized way, that is their goal. Project 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy about it. The Great Reset, all of that stuff. That's where that comes from. That's why they're doing it, right? They don't like that single trigger point in the United States that can blow up their whole control mechanism, right? And because Trump won in Trump just won, and you think that because they lost that election, they went all in, dude. Those guys went all in to win that election. I honestly believe that there is a very high probability that the Diddy stuff, at least in portion, I'm not going to go over that again in this video, but I've told you guys at length why this actually happened to Diddy. But I do think that an additional result of them going after Diddy and seizing all of his hard drives was so that they could leverage all of that blackmail material, right? And be like, you need to go endorse Kamala. You need to go endorse Kamala. That's how you had all these crazy flip-flops. Sure, I'm not political. I got nothing to do with it. Donald Trump's an existential threat or whatever. Snoop Dogg, he's like, I love Trump, dog. I love Trump. A week later, he's like, anybody who loves Trump, fuck Trump. He's racist. Anybody who loves him, fuck you too. And you're like, what? Or what's happening? And that was all happening all at once. Right after, Diddy's place gets raided, right? High probability that they were leveraging that stuff. And so they went all in to try to win the election. Not so much as if they really wanted to win, they should have run someone who was not Kamala, but they didn't want to use any of their, or any good candidate knew that they had a real uphill battle to try to win. They don't want to blow their wad on that election, Gavin Newsom, right? So you got Kamala and you play as dirty as you can and you lost. But what do you think? They're just going to fucking throw in the towel? You know what I mean? Like, oh, Trump won. I guess this whole Project 2030 thing, we're not going to do it anymore. This whole, remake the world, globalized world, the whole, environmental agenda and all that. We'll just forget about all that. The whole, the digital IDs, forget about all that, dude. We're going to, Trump won, so we're just going to hang back now. You know what I mean? We're just going to hang back. So that those people are still out there and they still are so powerful. It's hard to even, again, I've told this before. I did an Ibogaine trip, okay, deep in psychedelic land. Somehow I ended up in this clarity of how the whole system works and where these people sit in the power base and how powerful they actually are. It's mind-blowing, dude. The world is not what you think it is, It's not. Now, their goal is to keep people docile. All right. Usually their goal is to keep people docile because they can get over on docile people. So when they keep on driving for civil unrest and they keep on trying to destabilize things, that's because they're doing something. Okay. There's something going on. It's not just business as usual because normally they just want people fat, dumb, and stupid. They're not trying to drive, violence in the streets. They're not trying to drive people to go to civil war. Okay. When they're doing that, they have a bigger purpose in mind. And my opinion is this is still Project 2030 and they're trying to break the United States. Okay. Why would they give up? These people who have never lost in their entire lives. Why would they give up? Right. And so my point is what would the outcome be here with the Charlie Kirk thing if they commit this murder? Right. And then let me rewind. To break the United States and actually have the United States descend into civil war, right? Like a real civil war, not talk, not whatever. I mean, they've already successfully driven the two sides apart to the point where the people on the left are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. There are two completely alternate worlds now, right? You can't tell these people that everything they've ever heard about Charlie Kirk is a lie. They won't believe you. They'll just be like, oh, you're probably one of those white supremacists also. There's no talking anymore. They're not ever going to listen to any of us. Someone starts saying something that they find interesting and they go, wait, so what's that guy's? They're all, oh, he's like a Trumper. And they literally will just go, oh, never mind. I'm not listening to any of the stuff that he just said. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, wow, I was finding him really engaging and he was having good thoughts. They're all, bet he's a Trumper. They're all, oh, pff. And they'll just dismiss all of it, right? Very similar to how many Trumpers feel about the opposite side, right? I am not one of them, but like, I do understand that is very common on both sides. It's like, it's like, dude, I like that guy. You're all, you like that guy? That's like Barack Obama's blah, blah, blah. And they're all, oh my God, fuck it. And they just dismiss everything they said, right? That is a successful operation that they've been running to split us, right? But for actual civil war to happen, hot civil war, that does not come from the left. That comes from us, okay? Like that comes from us. We decide if that happens, right? The left are the ones who are the agitators. They're the ones who scream and they're fine with violence and they go out whatever and then they cheer when people are out. But like they are not the ones that can descend the country into actual like anarchy level violence, okay? We do that. If we decided that we like something had to happen, that comes from us. Now, I will never support that. I will never promote that. I will never support that. I won't do it. But you want to get shot by me? You need to be in my house threatening my family. You need to be like somewhere in my area where my family is threatened, barring, an all-out assault on the country where I'm like, all right, they're coming for the United States. Outside of that, like, you're never going to see me supporting deadly violence ever against other Americans, okay? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, A, it's wrong, but B, I know that's what they want. I know it. I know that's what they want. That's the end of our country, okay? We keep forgetting that Democrats and Republicans, we're on the same fucking team, dude, okay? Like, that's what we need to remember is we're on the same team. And if you wanted the right to start entertaining actual violence that could descend the country into chaos, which would potentially lead to the fall of the government and all of that, okay, this would be a real good start for that. You kill Charlie Kirk, and then flood the airwaves with all the left-wingers who are supportive of it, and they're going, yeah, oh my God, this is great, cheering for it, whatever. It puts murderous thoughts into your head. It puts terrible, terrible thoughts into your head when you see people behaving that way, And we should all aspire to be like Erica Kirk, who, whether she actually believes it or not, is able to go onto a stage and say the words, I forgive Charlie's killer, Like, I watched that clip, and I'm pretty good at picking out what part of a person, like, where is this coming from? Like, is this coming from the soul? Is this coming from the brain? Is this coming from something else? And with Erica, when she said the words like, I forgive him, it's hard to explain where I believe that comes from, but she is an incredibly impressive person, man. What I saw when I saw her do that was she made the conscious decision, this is what I need to be right now. Like, this is what I need to be, and this is what I need to say, okay? Because her saying, I forgive him, that was not coming from here, right? It came from something bigger than that. Because, when I say it comes from here, that just means it's genuinely what you say and you feel. That's not always the most, it's not necessarily the motivation that should be like, elevated the highest in terms of other people's like impression of it. Like, to me, if you have to go against your emotions and your own heart to say something that's more important than how you feel, that is the highest ideal. And that's what I saw from her. Is like, she's up there saying the words that she knows that need to be said right now. And that is a really powerful message that she said, like, I forgive his killer. It's like, damn, dude. And everybody thinks the same thing, dude. I mean, or I do. It's like a person who can be the victim of a thing like that. She has her husband taken from her, and she's able to park her emotions, which are basically unfathomable. I can't even imagine what I really can't. Like, I try to think of crazy stuff like that. What if Gabrielle got murdered? Because it makes me appreciate the things that I have more. So I actually think about that a lot. But I know you can't actually know what that would feel like. But her ability to recognize what the country needs and to be that is incredible. She's an incredible woman, dude. Like, she really is. And I am going to, I'm going to say one more thing about that real quick. Okay. Cause I have another piece of content coming out about Destiny. This fucking piece of shit. But you guys will enjoy it because he got absolutely demolished in You know, he's still doing this like Unfuck America tour where they were going to these different cities and he's like debating or like talking to the public. And he got eviscerated by a dude on his own side. He got eviscerated by a bunch of people and he got completely exposed. I'm probably just going to do a live stream where I go through all, as a matter of fact, I'm going to. And we're going to go through it together and I'll show you like I was right about him that he does the thing where he's intentionally saying these really nasty things on purpose for attention, whether he's that nasty or not. It doesn't even matter if he really means it or not. If a person is willing to say things like that, make fun of Charlie Kirk's widow just because it's going to get you attention, okay? Like, you're just as big of a piece of shit as if you meant it. You know what I mean? And he got completely exposed in this whole thing. I'll show it to you guys in a little bit. But just so we're clear, here is the President of the United States hugging Charlie Kirk's widow at the event. And this is Destiny's take. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. Just start kissing him. Like, what a fucking scumbag Destiny is, dude. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. I'm not like some guy who just blindly defends Trump no matter what. I think that grab him by the pussy thing, I think that whole clip was real, except for that. I think that was at the very beginning stages of like deep fake audio. And I think Hillary Clinton and them tricked him, dude. I think that they had a clip and he said all that other stuff, right? I think that was a hot mic and he said all that other stuff, which was, you know, I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's just like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. And I think that quote right there, they're like, it's not quite enough. You know, it's not quite enough. And then there's that pause and it's like, grab him by the pussy. And because his reaction to that, I remember, was like, I don't talk like that. I didn't say that. You know, and maybe it was all fake. I don't know. But again, I don't know, dude. I have gut feelings about things. And like, I never felt like this Charlie Kirk thing was Israel. I don't know why. Like, I'm not like some, you know, Israel defender or attacker or whatever. I didn't stick for me. But that one, I have always had an incredibly strong instinct that they deep faked that last part and he fell for it because it just deep fake audio wasn't on the radar yet, you know, because you don't see his face in any of that stuff. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. I'm just talking about that. But like, Destiny put that over a picture of Trump with Charlie Kirk's widow. Yeah. Again, listen, in the video that I'm about to do, Alex Jones went ham on Destiny, dude. And Alex Jones actually alluded to the fact that he thinks something bad's coming down the pipe for Destiny. I told you guys that last night. I told you, dude. They're going to get him, dude. Like they're going to get him. And if Alex Jones said that, my point is, I think he knows that they're investigating him, you know? But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. At the end of the day, Charlie Kirk is still murdered. And, you know, the people who did it and people who were involved, it's like, I just don't want anyone to get away with anything. And here's the other part of that, right? So what I was talking about referencing Kash Patel, I'm going to so on Breaking Points, they were talking about his post that I went over this morning, this one. Like, you know, I did why did that get pulled over there? So this, you know, the one that I did the video on here this morning about, you know, all the stuff that he said, basically he said, we are investigating every single conspiracy theory that's online. And Sager made a very good point. He's like, couldn't Tyler Rogers' defense team use this post from the FBI to demonstrate that they charged Tyler Rogers before they even had investigated all of these other things? That it's quick to charge. Tyler Rogers is not cooperating, right? What evidence do you actually have? Do you have those text messages? You know, the text messages that we put out that I am hypothesizing were actually the result of an interrogation that was then recreated or something like that. Do you actually have those text messages? Because if you don't, you got a pretty fucking weak case here, dude. Especially now that you might have a shooter who was in a completely different place from where you guys have been saying Tyler Rogers was. You know, and this, between that and then this post, not good, dude. Not good at all. I'm going to do another video about that, actually, about how Tyler Rogers is going to beat the case now, because I think he might. Anyway, I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. Bye-bye.